Through the Global Competition Project, the Potomac Institute for Policy Studies has engaged with a spectrum of experts from diverse fields to gain insights into the primary challenges and opportunities associated with societal level competition in the information age. This video supports the goals of this project by recapping the most important ideas from each of the GCP events thus far, offering insights into the transcending themes across the increasingly competitive global environment and emphasizing the importance for future actions by policymakers, government leaders, and industry.
And I think that we as a nation need to go back and really rethink the parameters of great power competition. Broadly, it may be thought of as a competition amongst nations over ideology. And since it's national security, it involves political, economic, military, and technological competition.
Focus on some of these sort of current supply chain problems. How many cars are we going to ship? That's a real economic impact, versus thinking about true technology leadership and thinking about where the industry is going to go, where sort of manufacturing expertise and capability is going to go sort of in the future, the 5 to 10 to 20 year future, and is that really the better place to invest? And so it's I think just something to keep in mind when we talk about supply chains, that there are the solutions to short-term problems are quite different than the prescriptions for how you would solve some of the longer-term and more strategic problems.
The Chinese can now, one bullet, one target. They understand that Mr. X and Mrs. Y's daughter was in therapy for a specific traumatic event at a particular age, at a particular time. They can now structure and form the message to a specific person.
Though we can't do a civilian military fused approach the way China does, we can create a symbiotic relationship between what the government does and the private sector does. And markets have shown themselves to be exceptionally stable and exceptionally proficient in generating sustained innovation over time.
So I think leadership in space competitiveness by the United States is critical to the long-term survival of the United States as a global power.
I think the whole issue of, we've had multiple energy transitions throughout history. Those energy transitions typically were technology induced. You'd have a technology would be developed, the technology would be improved upon, the market would accept it, the public would accept it, and then there would be a regulatory framework around which it would be governed. This is different, the current transition we're talking about. This is a policy-induced energy transition. And by all accounts, the technologies to achieve the ultimate end game in terms of reduction of carbon emissions, those technologies haven't been developed yet.
In some other countries, the situation is much more competitive now. So there really is much more competition to attract those people. I think the United States needs to go back to being sure that it attracts the best and brightest here. Of course, the United States also needs to invest in its own population.
Throughout the various discussions, several themes stood out consistently. Faith in institutions, to include the media, academia, and the U.S. government. The interdependence of human needs, to include food, water, energy, and certain natural resources. National values, threats to a unifying vision and democracy in the pursuit of ideas. Waning U.S. dominance in science and technology, based on education, the workforce, and innovation. Competition, cooperation, and capitalism. The importance of free enterprise and economics in our future competitive posture, lending to our security and prosperity. And finally, the proliferation of information, its ubiquity, flow, and manipulation. These themes will help us guide, prioritize, and focus recommendations to policymakers and government and industry leaders for maintaining U.S. competitive advantage in the current and future international environment. While the GCP events have been invaluable for understanding the nature of competition in the modern era, simply understanding how and why U.S. competitive advantage is influenced by the information age and the interconnectedness of society is not enough on its own. Moving forward, we will work to develop recommendations for action for both the private and public sector to ensure U.S. security and prosperity in the future.